do that. And with that being said, I do want to talk about Ruan Mei because obviously she's being rerun right now. I missed her on the original run through, and I'll be honest, I did not realize she was going to be rerun now because I'd been saving for Jade, and I was debating, going back and forth when the patch went live on Tuesday night. Do I pull for her? Do I not pull for her? I slept on it, and I thought, you know what, Ruan Mei is going to add such value to my Nihility team and will probably slot her in with any team. I should probably lean towards Ruan Mei rather than guarantee Jade, who is essentially going to be my third team, because my follow-up team is my third team, right? So do I really spike my main team or do I hold off and do this? So I ended up pulling for Ruan Mei. I was on my guarantee, so there was no 50-50 to lose. But that being said, she still came home early at 57 pulled. So I have about 70 or so saved up for a potential 50-50 on Jade. So just give a roadmap of my plans. I got Ruan Mei, and I'm now on a hope and a prayer, and I have 3 weeks effectively to save up currency for Jade. Now, to get into the nitty gritty on Ruan Mei and talk about her build, best set is going to be the Watchmaker Master of Dream Machination set, which 2-piece increases break effect, and the 4-piece, when the wearer uses their ultimate on an ally, break effect for all allies increases by 30% for 2 turns. I cannot that noting. So that's going to be her best set there. Is going to be the 4-piece there. If you can't get the 4-piece there, the next would be 2 from the Watchmaker and 2 from the Messenger of Traversing Hackerspace. So that way you get the break effect boost still from the 2-piece, and then Messenger gives you a speed boost of 6%. Moving to her planetary set, Fleet of the Ageless, just make her a little bit more tanky, is going to be what we're looking at with max HP. And then if your speed is 120 or higher, all allies attack boosted by 8%. So with her speed breakpoint recommended being in the typical 134, you're going to be above 120, thus giving your team 8% more attack on top of all the other buffs that you give them, because Ruan Mei is ridiculous. In terms of those stats on the gear pieces for the body, you're going to be looking at HP or defense, just the main stat. Feet, again, we're looking at speed. The planar sphere, again, HP or defense. Maybe you'll want to look at the opposite of what you did on your body. But hey, sometimes you can't control what substats you get, and you just get a solid substat. So you just go with it. So if you get 2 defense pieces like I did, that's what you're rolling with. And then as far as the rope goes, energy regenerate or break effects. I tend to lean towards break effect because you're wanting to spike that up as much as possible. The recommended numbers we're looking for, just so that she's a little bit tankier and not as squishy: HP 3,700 to 5,000, defense 1,000 to 1,100, or if you're like me, because you're running 2 defensive pieces from the sphere in the body, her defense is 2,100. Yeah. Speed, you're going to be wanting to look at the break thresholds. Again, 134 being the recommended for the speed breakpoints. Energy regenerate around 119, and break effect over 1 is going to be what we're looking for there. When it comes to light cones, very quickly, obviously, again, signature light cone is going to be the best option for. But if you're like me and you can't really afford to do that right now, your next best option is going to be the Memories of the Past. It's a 4-star light cone. That's going to be your best free-to-play option. Passively, this increases the wearer's break effect by a percentage, depending on how many superpositions you have. And then when the wearer attacks, you generate additional energy. So it just gets you your ultimate that much quicker. For whatever reason, you don't have Memories of the Past. Technically, her next best option, as weird enough as this is, it's going to be a 3-star light cone, meshing cogs, just so that you generate more energy whenever you attack. So you don't get the break effect bonus, but you still get the energy generation. Pop the ults off a little bit more. In terms of her synergies and teams, we do have data because she is a rerun. She's not a new character. So we do have data on what team she's running in MOC, and she's in a lot of different teams. She's a great generator and synergy wise for a lot of different teams. The most recent cycle we had was Himiko, Harmony Traveler, her, and Gallagher. The team that I run, because I'm Nihility, right, is going to be Kafka, Black Swan, Ruan Mei, and Hoyoverse. again, there's many others, but I do just want to hit on those because that's quite literally from the last MOC, the second and third most popular teams to be run that were involving any characters, but Ruan Mei had the second and third slots. And if you're curious about more numbers, she also had the 8th and 9th, 13th, 15th, 17th, 20th, 23rd, and 25th. So quite literally in the top 25 team combinations in MOC during the last cycle, she's on 10 of those 25. 40% of the teams included Ruan Mei. So she fits a lot. That's what I'm trying to say.
She is a universal support. She's between her and Robin. Yeah, they're
great effects. She passively gives your team more speed.
Break efficiency.
Say, pulling for her and getting her and basically instantly being able to build her because I had a lot of fuel saved up, so I could just burn through those to get. The only thing I haven't done yet is her talents are at 7 of 7 across the board. But man, she has allowed me to push further and easier in MOC in my Kafka team, and it really rejuvenated me to do those game modes. Because similar to you, I don't do those too much unless like I have designated time where I'm sitting down and do it. Like they're not in my daily cycle of doing a stage and then like backing out. I have to sit down and dedicate. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. But you got Ruan Mei on the original run.
Correct.
But you can speak a little bit to your experience on that, because I know I went through all the technical stuff and some slight anecdotal, hey, this is my experience with her. But what about your anecdotal?
My anecdotal is I have the big three of the support characters, Sparkle, Robin, and Ruan Mei. And basically my go-to is if I'm using Robin on one team, Ruan Mei is going on the other. If I'm using, unless it's a situation where Sparkle needs to go in instead, Ruan Mei is a universal character to add to a team. She just gives out so many advantages, so many buffs, that she's a true universal support. She's going to do better in teams where there's multiple DPS, dual DPS characters. So for hyper carry, she's technically less valuable. I originally put her on my Jingliu team, and I've since actually pulled her off of that just because other reasons. There are better characters that actually fill that slot. But again, for my Nihility team, that's what I run. Kafka, Black Swan, and Ruan Mei. I will throw her into I have Robin, so I don't really use her for the follow-up team, but before Robin came out, she was the support slot for the follow-up team that I had. She's, like I said, she's a great universal character. I would also say that, as I mentioned in the Firefly commentary, she's basically a requirement if you're going to be running a break team. At the moment, the break team meta is rather limited. So if you have any interest in any character that is a break character, or if you think that is a archetype of team build that you might be interested in, she's basically the cornerstone. I don't see her being power crept until in the next 6 months, if I put it that way, just because they would basically have to release a character that is just Ruan Mei plus. I could see other characters that might sit alongside her, but I don't see anyone who outright replaces her for a while. That being said, I don't have visions of the future. We were all saying that about, no leaks. And the caveat is we all were talking about Silverwolf being irreplaceable. She's a character that's golden and going to last forever into the future. And none of us are talking about Silverwolf anymore. She's a character that is no longer really discussed.
Still talking about that 4-star light cone we got during her event.
Oh, we are.
That is a plug and play on most Nihility.
Very true, but Silverwolf herself. Yeah, I think she sits okay in an Acheron team, but I think that's the only her.
Yeah, she has a couple of applications, but her niche is narrowed. I did want to, you mentioned two things, and it's not related to Firefly or Ruan Mei directly necessarily, but it is something that I was looking at when I was considering pulling for Ruan Mei, because I was moving my teams around and trying to figure out what works best. And so I moved Fushuan to my Jingliu team, and I moved Ho-Oh to my Dot team, because Ho-Oh gives more attack, and that's more pertinent to Dots than the crit rate that Fushuan gives, whereas crit rate on Jingliu would be much better. But what I was considering in terms of supports is I was doing a comparison between Bronya and Sparkle because I have both are relatively well built,
Mhm.
and I could play either one in the Jingliu team. And I was debating this, and I was looking at numbers. I was reading some guides and looking at their tables and their stuff that they'd done. And for Jingliu specifically, and then Blade, Bronya comes out the better play if you're doing the carry -1. So basically, if you're
Mhm.
carry, so in this case, Jingliu, you build to where Bronya is -1 speed or -2 speed. So Jingliu goes, Bronya goes, and then pulls Jingliu back up to the top. That's how I play my hyper carry team because that's what my speed substat rerolls have allowed me to do.
Mhm.
Because there's two ways to play Sparkle. There's that same way, and then there's the 160 plus speed Sparkle, which I don't have 160
Yeah.
on any combination of gear, much less a complete set. But back to the original point I was trying to get to was that quite literally for Jingliu and Blade, Bronya is going to be the better carry for those two specifically. If you're doing any other hyper carry, the numbers are going to show that Sparkle is actually the more SP positive. She is the more SP positive character in general, but with Blade and Jingliu, they are not as SP dependent as some of the other carries would be because, as you referenced earlier, Jingliu enters her Super Saiyan mode where she's not actually using a skill point when you use her E. Because Bronya is more skill point negative, even with signature light cone, which provides a skill point on every other ult effectively. So you had mentioned playing Sparkle and Jingliu and just got me into that little point because I believe you have Bronya as well. And so I
Yes.
just want to pass that tip along to anybody that is a Jingliu haver or anybody having that similar debate within themselves that I was having of Sparkle versus Bronya. Again, bottom line, if you're playing Jingliu or Blade, it's Bronya. If you're playing somebody like Imbiber Dong Hung, it's going to be Sparkle.
Or Jingwan or Jing.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's who I use
using
my
it as
Sparkle for.
yeah, your Lightning Lord Commander, who you
Yep.
somehow confused with our blindfolded blue maiden.
Look, they got similar names. I get very confused. I'm easily.
They do both have long flowing hair, to your
Yeah.
credit. But yeah, but I think that's gonna wrap it up for our Honkai Star Rail event and character reviews.